Hi, Yara, nice to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you. So, what do you have for us today?
I brought with me a cover letter and a resume.
Great, thank you. So, Yara, can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Sure, so I'm a third year student at Ryerson University. I'm studying graphic communications management as well as completing a concentration in publishing and a minor in communication and design. I moved to Canada around 7 years ago. I'm originally from Lebanon. Lived in Saudi Arabia for the first 13 years of my life. Yeah, that's about it.
Cool, cool. And what are your strengths?
So I would say my biggest strength is being able to multitask and being able to work on several projects at a time. I've noticed that once I have so many things on my plate, I tend to get more organized and tend to um, make sure that everything is completed on time and for the due date and everything. And just everything kind of falls into place when I have several things to do and I just get more organized, as I said, and more focused on what I'm doing.
That sounds good. So, tell me, what design softwares are you most familiar with?
I would say that I'm pretty comfortable in using the Adobe suites such as InDesign, Illustrator, Photoshop. I mean, we do use them a lot in my program, GCM. They do teach us how to use them and how to use the basic tools. They want us to feel comfortable. I actually started using them in high school in grade 12. So I am extremely comfortable in using those suites. I also am extremely comfortable using Microsoft suites as well as any kind of social media platforms as well.
That is good to hear. And what made you want to be a graphic designer?
So it's kind of a funny story. I actually always wanted to be an interior designer. The first, I would say, 3, maybe even 4 years of high school until grade 12, I had my mindset on interior design. Everything I did, all the art courses that I took in high school were to reach that goal. A lot of the courses that were offered in high school were photography courses, learning how to use Photoshop. One course that did change everything was yearbook. This course, you had to apply, you had to go for an interview, have a resume, and only a select few were chosen to be a part of this class. And thankfully, I was chosen, and it is what made me want to be a graphic designer because I that is when I learned how to use InDesign for the first time, and I loved it. It just felt extremely natural. It felt super easy. I was so comfortable in using those suites, Photoshop, InDesign, um, and it's just what made me want to be a graphic designer. And honestly, I think it's also I have a lot of family members who are in graphic design, and I think every time I went to visit, I would sit there and like watch my cousin specifically do her schoolwork, and I think just without even realizing it, I slowly started going towards graphic design and shifting towards that. And when university applications came along, I did apply for interior design. I applied for graphic design on the side, just like as a backup plan in a way. And when we had to submit our portfolios for both, I started to realize that I had a lot more things to show in the graphic design than in interior design. And then that's how I slowly started to realize that graphic design is what I wanted to do.
Interesting. And what specifically are your graphic design career goals?
So I started to notice that advertising is something that I might want to do, but page layout is my passion. I love to make reports easy to read, fun to look at. In university, we have to create a lot of reports, especially in group projects, and I always take it upon myself to, once we're done the report, to go and put it onto InDesign and make it, again, more appealing to look at. And it is honestly, I think, a big part of branding and design. Like when you're kind of applying for a new product or a new brand, you do want you do want your report to look appealing and show visuals and have people see what you're talking about. So I think that is, yeah.
Great. Well, let's switch it up. Tell me, what are your weaknesses?
So I would say my weakness, again, going back to working in groups, I do like to be the one in charge in a way, and I generally always lean towards kind of organization and making sure that everyone is doing their parts and making sure that everyone gets their parts done in time. Um, I would say that's a weakness because I may not always be the perfect person for the job. I may not always be the perfect person to be in charge of that specific project. Some people may be more qualified, but I just take it upon myself to be the one who is in charge. And yeah.
Sounds good. Tell me, can you tell me how you overcame a time where you had to work under pressure?
So last summer, this previous summer, I did an internship at MNC in Sachi in Lebanon. And during my first few days, maybe during the first week that I had started, the person that I was working under, the person that I was learning from, she had to step out of the office for about like 3 hours, I would say. And we had just created, like right before she left, we had just created several advertisement adaptations. So I was interning in the social media sector of the advertisement company. So we were creating several different adaptations for Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, several different things. And did them all, submitted them, emailed them to the person in charge of posting them. And then she stepped out of the office. Like an hour into that, we received an urgent email that one of the adaptations was not the right size. Like they messed up with the size, so it wasn't. They weren't able to publish that, so they needed it right away because they had to submit that advertisement. So we got that email, and the person who was in charge was not there. So I took it upon myself. I recreated the adaptation. I messaged her letting her know what had happened, and she told me to send her the adaptation that I had made. And if she approved it, then I could email it to the person in charge. So I sent it to her. She approved it. She said, "Perfect. Can you send it to them?" And I mean, it all went perfectly. They took it. They actually posted the advertisement about like 5 minutes later. But I think that was one of the most stressful times that I had to deal with.
Mm-hmm. So, do you think you'd consider yourself a team player?
Absolutely. We in university we learn. They build our skills in group projects. They make sure to have us involved and have us like work with other people because our in graphic design you have to work with several different people. You're never working on your own. You're always working with like art directors. You're always working with um, filmographers. You're always working with different people. So I think in group projects in university they teach us how to be able to work with others. Yeah, for sure.
Sounds good. And how do you handle criticism?
I mean, things related not to design, maybe not so well, but for design related purposes, I think I handle it pretty well just because I know that, especially in our field of work, you need to be able to handle other people's ideas and handle what other people are saying, especially because everyone sees things differently based on their experiences in life. And you always think that your work is really well, but you need another set of eyes. You need someone else to tell you and tell you things that you may not see in your own artwork. An example would be in second year of university, we had to we had to create a poster for something of our choosing, and I was showing my work to my prof at the time, and someone that I've never met before, never spoken to, kind of jumped in and gave me his input on my art. And yeah, I would say I took some of the things he said kind of made sense, and I did make those changes. But then there were certain things that he criticized on that I did not agree with at all. And I kind of put them in the back of my head. at the end of the project, when I was kind of doing the final touches, his criticisms came back, and I decided, you know what, maybe give it a try. See, maybe he had a point. So I did give a few of his pointers a try, and I mean, yeah, a lot of the things he did say did not look better to me. But there was one thing he asked me, or he told me to change, and I did that change, and I noticed that it did make a difference, and it made my artwork look a lot better. So I think, yeah, you definitely need to be able to handle criticism. You definitely need to be able to take into account what the other person is telling you, because they might see something that you're not seeing. So yeah, I think I handle it pretty well design wise.
Very nice, very nice. All right. Can you tell me about your past experiences?
So I have done a couple of internships in the past. Um, they were very similar, but also very different. So I did 2 internships in advertising companies, and one in Lebanon in MNC in Sachi. That was the most recent one, and then one in JWT in Qatar about 2 summers ago. And the one in Qatar was a lot smaller. It was a smaller agency, fewer things to work on, and I noticed there was a lot of times where I was doing my own thing, working on my own projects. I did learn a lot about the process of advertising, and I learned a lot about like start to finish. I was a part of the meetings. I was a part of the brainstorming process. I was a part of I sat next to the graphic designer and saw how he created a few examples to look at, and I learned the entire process of advertising from start to finish. Um, I did do a few things here and there. I helped them with tracing images and looking up images and stuff, but I think I was mainly an observer at that internship. Um, at MNC in Sachi this past summer, I had more to do. I had a few small projects of my own. I mean, they had their base layout, but I had to take images, trace them, put them onto the advertising surface, and I just kind of had a few more things to do on my own. I wasn't a part of the whole process because this company was a lot bigger, and it was just everything was sent to us already decided, and we just had to create the design for it. And I got, obviously, because I'm an intern, I got just like the basic layout and a few adaptations that I had to make. But in this internship, I would say that I learned more um, about like pressured work and timelines and due dates, and being able to make sure that I submit my work in time. So yeah, I would say, I mean, they were both in advertising agencies, and they were both extremely similar, but I just learned completely different things because I was doing completely different things in the internships. But yeah.
All right, Yara. Well, thanks for coming in. We'll
Thank
be
you
in
very
touch.
much. Thank you.